Keir Hardy and Michael Ford are coming. Ellen Wilkinson, the red flag, she is humming. We get around not as much as Dominic Cummings, even though he's driving blind. We are the Labour Grassroots, where like-minded folk dwell. From countryside to city, it's warm and it's witty, the antidote to Pretty Patel. We are the Labour Grassroots, time to raise a racket. The future is as bright as Crispin's red jacket. This is the space where we all go hell for leather, free from all the biased BBC blether. Like track and trace, we're better together, just as Carrie and Meg. Yeah, we got all the people from Inverness, Skegness, Barrow, Inverness, Chester, Leicester, Cirencester, Shrewsbury, Oswald Street, Swansea, Bernackley, Barnsley, Beccles, Nottingham and Eccles. We are the Labour Grassroots, time to plant some grass, where we've always had social distancing between us and the upper class.
Welcome to the Not the Andrew Marr show. It's great to see so many people looking so well turned out on a Sunday morning. I hope this isn't too early for some. Obviously not. Some people haven't got up yet, but they will. We've got a busy show, 1 hour, and I've got a new backdrop to reflect this kind of sunny daytime show. We've got a newspaper review. We've got a discussion about Labour's graphic design. We've got a profile on an audience member of Labour Grassroots who's also been on Big Brother. And we've got Clash of the CLPs between Broxtowe, we all know about, and South East Cornwall. So, and then Robb Johnson and the comedians, they're all here. So without any further ado, I'm going to say hello to Mish, who is our guest newspaper reviewer. Are you there, Mish?
I'm here now, Crispin.
Well, I thought we'd do a newspaper review where we don't go through the same kind of papers as maybe the other lot do. And to start, I thought we'd talk about the refugee crisis and the fact that Priti Patel is trying to rush through assessments on children to make sure that they're not, possibly to stop a lot of people registering as a child, which is appalling. What do you think about what's going on with the refugees at the moment and the media's obsession with it?
Well, it's obvious. This is a distraction. This is a distraction from the way they've handled COVID. It's a distraction from the way that the future of the country is going in terms of the Brexit negotiations and the actual whole economy and the way that people are losing jobs. A few dinghies crossing the channel isn't an invasion. And then you've got the likes of Farage, and now you've got Britain First this weekend in the West Midlands coming down to Coventry and harassing people, absolutely terrorising people in hotels. I don't even know how they get into these hotels. They get into the hotels and they knock on doors and terrorise these people who have come here to seek refuge. I think it's a disgrace, and it's all it is. All this is a distraction. It's nothing else.
And there's other stories that we've caught up on the refugees is that when they actually arrive here, as we've seen on an earlier show that we had, the actual living conditions that refugees have, the allowance they're given to get by on is just impossible to survive on. And there's a story in the Morning Star about a woman who died because she just couldn't keep going on this. What do you think the Labour Party should be doing about that? I mean, the idea that stopping refugees is one thing, but actually the demonisation of them when they arrive and making out that they're scroungers when they can't actually keep going.
I think it's a sad state of affairs, Crispin, where we've got people coming here seeking refuge. For many of the cases that you'll see, the reason that people come here and seek refuge is because we've probably got something to do with them being misplaced in the first place. We've either been part of they've either been old colonies of ours, or we've been part of bombing them, either through directly or through selling arms to countries that have subsequently bombed them. And what we're doing now is ramping up this hostile environment. And unfortunately, in the past, the Labour Party hasn't been innocent of this. I've been quite vocal about the hostile environment actually starting with the Labour Party, and the Labour Party in the early 2000s actually making it hard for asylum seekers, calling them scroungers, and making this. We had a significant pledge from Keir Starmer when he became leader. He sent his set of 10 pledges, and amongst his pledges was migrants' rights. And he said he will stand up for migrants' rights. He said he will make sure that migrants' rights are respected. One of the main reasons of respecting migrants' rights and getting refugees to be able to seek proper refuge here is the recourse to public funds. There's been no recourse to public funds under this government for a few years, and without recourse to public funds, all you're doing, you're setting them up, but you're not getting the thousands and thousands of pounds that Nigel Farage and his cronies seem to be thinking. All we're doing is we're just setting up home, but then we're not allowing them to recourse to public funds, and then we're not allowing them to go to work either. So it's quite a catch-22 situation. And as the Labour Party, as the party of fairness, and as we also pledged under our leader that we're going to look after these unfortunate people, we should be absolutely doing this, because again, we should be the party of fairness and compassion.
Yeah, we had a refugee week show on Stay Home for Labour, and it was it's incredible, the stories of refugees coming over and also what they bring to the country. It's just not put in the media, and I can't believe we're so mean to these people who've come so far. I mean, we've got to do something, and the Labour Party's got to improve its rhetoric on this. Like you say, Keir Starmer's not really speaking out. He probably thinks it's not politically correct to do so.
Well, no, he isn't. And myself and Open Labour and Momentum, we called it out in an independent news article a few weeks ago. We appealed to Keir Starmer to stop being unambiguous on these issues. You've got to be ambiguous. You've got to say, no, migrants are welcome here, but we need to provide them safe passage to come here. And that's it, simple as. What we're doing at the moment is not a lot. And I think if you look at the polls, the reason we're doing not a lot is because the Tories seem to be messing things up themselves. And I think Labour's policy seems to be right now, let's not interrupt them messing up, which is, in my opinion, morally wrong. You can't just stand by and let these things sort themselves out. You've got to take a stand. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna move on to the story about Belarus, because I was quite interested in this story that, Angela Merkel's trying to say that, the EU won't support this regime in Belarus, and that if the Russians do, then there'll be trouble. What do you think about this? I mean, I on one side, I've got the Morning Star story on this somewhere, and it's pretty pro what's going on with the regime in Belarus, which I'll just show that one. I'll just show that one now. Yeah. I mean, the Morning Star is saying that the nationalised industries fight EU privatisation in Belarus. So, where do you fall on this one?
As many of our comrades, I'm not sure many of us are absolute experts on Belarus, but I think this is an important situation. Belarus is a strategically placed geographically. So you've got it on the border of the EU. You've got neighbouring countries such as Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, and then you've got Russia on the other side. So that's why, although Belarus isn't an EU country, we hold very interested. We hold a very interested appeal towards it. The other thing that Belarus isn't, it's a lot of its parts are nationalized. So there's a lot of things in Belarus that could quickly come up for sale. And obviously, the EU being a capitalist program, if there's an opportunity, we're happy to take it in the EU. So that's why the EU have a certain interest there. But Russia obviously have interest because, again, for Russian purposes, the current leader of Belarus has been around for a few years now. Lukashenko has been around for about 20 years. And recently what's happened is the elections that he called were deemed unfair by foreign bodies and by the opposition. And the public also, I think, are fed up of him. And that's why the public have come out in protest. He's not just a bit of an autocrat, he's an autocrat. So he's hit back by sending the police force out. And there's been a lot of police brutality as well. As I think, as a socialist myself, I do see that the country itself has a lot. It's that threat to neoliberalism, but Lukashenko hasn't done himself any favors at all. He's an autocrat. He's a dictator in some ways. He doesn't value democracy, and we're socialists, but we're also Democrats as well. So I think he's brought this upon himself, and he's now at the mercy of Russia if he wants to save himself from the EU, because the EU are putting sanctions on him. And if EU want to sign him up, it's only if there's anything worth signing up to in his country. And the workers on strike.
So you think that the EU's being a bit too heavy-handed, but at the same time the bloke's a bit of a bully boy, and Russia's going to be sniffing out for trying to get in there because he's left in limbo?
I don't think the EU's being as heavy-handed. What the EU's probably doing is, again, this is from Lukashenko's own words. He's saying the EU are there's a foreign power within his country. So he's referring to the EU. He can't call them out. So what he's trying to say is that the EU is trying to drum up this anti-Lukashenko stuff and then pro-democracy in terms of the election not being fair. So he's at the mercy of both. It's up to him where he turns. And he's not in a very good position because whichever way he turns, it can't be good for his country as such. If he turns towards the EU, he will have to privatize a lot of their country's assets. If he turns towards Russia, it's just going to be a pawn of Russia.
It's not a very nice situation to be in. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. So I'm going to move on to another story in the Morning Star. In fact, this is a letter in the Morning Star. Well, did you get some good letters in there? We've got a letter about Keir Starmer. Starmer's lack of activity is failing us at a vital time. The letter is really saying that he's not speaking out enough on stuff, which seems to be what you've already indicated. Do you think he's doing himself damage by not speaking out, or do you think he's playing a clever? You think he might be playing a clever game by not saying much at all?
Okay, what Starmer's doing, whether we agree with it or not, again, I believe whatever move that I should make as an activist, I should always hold the moral ground, and sometimes that really pulls the rug away from our feet as well. Trying to hold the moral ground when you come up in tricky situations. Starmer, in my opinion, the tactic he's playing is letting the Tories fall over themselves. And by portraying himself as a statesman, as a diplomat, the polls are going up. Yesterday, there was a poll from Survation, I think, which was 40-40. Labour on 40 and the Tories on 40, which is the first time That's happened for about a year since the 2019 elections. So it actually seems to be working for him, and that doesn't put pressure under him to start raising his activity either. I've been pretty disappointed in it. Well, not just a bit. I've been very disappointed in how we've been following the Tory U-turns. So the Tories do a U-turn and we do a U-turn. It's a bit naff. It's really for me. We should be leading the narrative, and by us doing this, what this allows is the likes of the right wing to lead the narrative on these issues. But it completely lets them. So it lets Farage and Johnson lead the narrative. We need to be leading the narrative if we're instead of being a reactive party.
Yeah, and then that kind of links in a little bit with this letter in the another letter in the Morning Star, which is saying that that trade unions are not being included in post-Brexit trade deal talks, and someone's pointed out that if the trade unions had supported Brexit instead of fighting it, then they may well have had an opportunity to do that. And I can't help thinking Keir Starmer's was central to holding back making a deal on Brexit before Johnson came in, and it turned out to be a disaster. So strategically, I'm not that sure that he's such an expert. What's your view on that? What happened with the Brexit negotiations and how Labour stalled it, and then the general election and all that stuff?
Well, I think you can't be a Remainer capitalist. So if you're a Remainer and you're pro-EU, I get the benefits of the EU. I like to go travel in the EU without a border for holidays. I enjoy the benefits that we do have, but the EU at the end of the day is a capitalist project. And if it's a capitalist project, then workers in capitalist projects, workers don't come first. If workers don't come first, then trade unions would be misrepresenting their workers if they're pursuing a capitalist project. And if you're a capitalist, and the workers don't come first, then trade unions don't mean anything to you either, in my opinion. So if, as socialists, the Brexit divide means that the trade unions have. I always thought that the trade unions were pro-Brexit, but in a way they had to come up on the compromise of Remain. So I really am a bit miffed at how even people in the Labour Party, although we're a socialist party, on the right of the party, put an argument up for capitalism. It's not going to work because, as we're seeing here, if we do, then the workers are going to get a bad deal. And the reason I believe that the trade unions did actually want Brexit is because they wanted to close the borders so the economy and the market for workers is limited, which is a understandable economic argument as argued by Marx in Capital. So I get that. I think we lost the 2019 election because of our miserable Brexit position. If we were stuck to a 2017 position, I reckon we would have done much better. And if we were consistent in it, we would have probably been in government. I know Jeremy wasn't liked on the doorstep, but I think our Brexit position was what killed it. Jeremy wasn't liked on the doorstep in 17 either, if we're going to say that. Right. But in 17, we had a better position.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I think, especially in the red wall seats. Now, there's another story that I got today, and it's in the Sunday Mirror, and it says women trust their MP less than men do, and if you read it, it says women have less trust than men. Only 1 in 10 reported trust in leaders, and then this is the funny part of it. It says Kezia Dugdale of Glasgow University, which did the study, and I'm thinking, Kezia Dugdale of Glasgow University, Kezia Dugdale, the ex-Labour leader of Scotland, how did she manage to sneak that she's nothing to do with being the Labour leader or an MP, SMP, MSP. I mean, it's like, that's the big story for me, is that this woman's saying she doesn't think politicians should be trusted, but she can't be trusted because she's not even describing herself. So I thought that was a funny story. It's obviously not made you laugh much, but it made me laugh that Keswick does making out she's a
I don't know. I'm a bit wary of things that come out of Scotland, because I know there's a definite attempt to undermine the current leader of the Labour Party in Scotland, Richard Leonard. And Kezia was one of the people who lost to Scotland, her and the other few people that we had. And there is a genuine reason to undermine Leonard, because Leonard isn't in line with Keir Starmer currently, and currently they want to bring it in line with the party nationally. So I'm actually quite sceptical of things that are going on in Scotland. It's a definite way of getting the new leader in. But I would have thought they would have waited until the Holyrood elections, because Labour aren't polled to be doing very well in the Holyrood elections. And if they didn't do well then maybe they'd try to put pressure on Leonard to resign them. But I don't see it. I think it's very difficult times in Scotland, and things don't seem to be getting in better for Labour.
No, it's not easy to. Well, we had an article about that the other day on Labour Grassroots, and it doesn't look like Labour's got many activists up there either. So I'm moving on, because we've got so much to cover. I've got this story in the Morning Star about boxing, and do you think boxing is a great sport, a noble sport, or do you think it's a commercial thuggery? What's your view on it?
I've got mixed opinions on this, Crispin. I've been involved in youth work in my life. Earlier on, I was like a youth activist. I working in youth clubs, setting up youth clubs and working them. Boxing is a poor man's sport. As a working class man, boxing is a working class man's sport. It's for people who can't afford to play golf, people who can't afford to play tennis. These are not working class jobs. So boxing now, with women boxing as well, it's a way of channeling anger amongst youth. It's a good way of keeping youth off the street as well, to take their anger and channel it into something positive in exercise. But then also there's the dangers of the sport within, and then obviously it's been commercialized. There's a lot of money in boxing. I remember going back a few years now when I don't know, it was a Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, somebody who had a really, really life-altering accident in the ring. I mean, people like Muhammad Ali, who's got Parkinson's. We don't know why he's got Parkinson's, but being battered around the head a few times, kind of helped him. So I reckon there's a place for it. It's a glorious sport as well. There's a place for it amongst the working class masses. But again, I agree with you. It's a difficult one for me because there are a lot of dangers involved with it. But like I say, with women getting involved in boxing now, the women's sector is good as well. And they do use a lot of protection, head guards and stuff. I think it is, if you could keep it to a safe level, but I get the money plays a lot. And when it comes to money, there's not going to be much pressure of people to stop boxing, because it makes a lot of money for a lot of people as well. It makes poor men and women rich.
I'm going to move on. I think you've got a point, but we've got so many points here. We've got so many things to talk about here. Here's another one, a sport one. Messi going to Man City. Do you like that?
I thought he was going to the Villa. I'm a Villa fan. I thought it might get a bit messy at the Villa, but I think if Messi goes anywhere, there's not going to be many people that can afford to buy him. It's either PSG or Man City. I don't think anybody else can afford to buy him.
I'm going to bring Don Biswas in now, because Don's a big Liverpool supporter, and they obviously won the title. So, Don, what's your view? Are you happy that that Messi's going to go to Man City and they'll beat Liverpool?
I don't think he'll do that much. I think he'll do well, but if we're fans of football, I think Man City need to sort their defence out first of all, because they're just terrible defensively.
All right, okay. Well, that's the most succinct football analysis I've heard for a while. I'm gonna move on to this story about tourism. Apparently, everyone's going on holiday this weekend. Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. On holiday.
You're on holiday, so
yeah, in sunny Penzance.
Is this the time to go on holiday then?
You know what? It felt like after sort of 5 months in quite a strict lockdown, it was kind of time to be able to get away in a controlled manner and just see something other than the four walls of your house.
How long have you been there?
Weekend.
How long have you been there?
How long? Down in Penzance. Been here since Thursday night.
All right. You've got a good tan as well.
It's bordering on sunburn now.
Oh, good to see. We'll be talking to you in a while. And now I'm going to move on to this story that I thought might interest some of the people on here. I think it's a bit sexist because it says that women worry about their Zoom face, so that when you're on Zoom that they can see what they look like and they think they need to have Botox. I think personally that men as well could be part of this, but I'm going to ask Suzy. Suzy, are you there?
Hello.
What do you think about this idea that women need to worry about their Zoom face and men obviously don't have to worry? I mean, men's faces are pretty bad, aren't they?
Well, in the spirit of this article, I've gone makeup free today. You can take me as you find me. I've just woke up. I've got my dressing gown on. I've got frizzy hair. And this is who I am. I've got watery eyes from being asleep. And I think it's all about the angle, to be honest, on Zoom. Because if you kind of like this, that's horrific. But if you kind of do it above, that's always better. And it's the same with taking a photo. So I think when the Zoom thing first started in lockdown, I was completely staring at my face and grinning, thinking everyone was looking at me at the whole time. And they weren't looking at me the whole time. So I've kind of relaxed it now. But I tend to, on Zoom, I tend to look at the background. I watch a lot of TV where they do interviews with celebrities, and I'm always looking at what artwork they've got and what's going on in the background and if they're messy. But I think it's really sad, the whole Botox thing, because that's what gives you character, right? I mean, I think I got a bit there, but I'm all right. I'm 44.
I'm seeing some messages saying that I shouldn't have asked you because you're a woman, and I should have asked a man.
No.
But I thought I'd ask you because I thought it was a bit sexist to ask to say
sexist,
women
yeah.
should worry. So I thought I'd see how you felt. But I will now, in the spirit of democracy, ask Patrick.
Yeah.
Are you up for take Botox for your Zoom face?
You know, I think this is sexist. You're asking the oldest bloke on this whole person on this whole Zoom chat. Look at you. Look at everyone, all like spring chickens. Look at me with me salt and pepper. Look at that. Look, I don't know if anyone can see Mark, but he's outside. He dyes his hair grey just so he can look as old as me. I think this is so sexist, Crispin. I think Suzy made the right points though. It is ridiculous when this article about Botox for Zoom. Listen, it's like Suzy said, it's about the angles, it's about the lighting. If you don't want people to judge what age you look like, switch the lights off or do what I stick loads of pictures of what I looked like when I was younger. I mean, this was me when I was at school. There's nothing. Look at that. That's what I want people to see. I'm trying to get CGI so the lips move while I talk. Yeah, Crispin, how's it going? Yeah, I just got a bit of sunburn. I was in the garden. But I think it is ridiculous. I think that what we need to do is enforce that people wear masks in the house. So when you're on Zoom, that means, look how much younger I look now. Look at that. Yeah. If I wear a big visor, all you can see is me. Look at that. I look absolutely fantastic. It takes 30 years off you. But also, on a serious point, I think that the thing is that, you know, we've got to forget about worrying about what people look like. We're just chatting to them on Zoom. What I'm worried about, same as what Suzy said, I'm worried about the lack of books that are on my bookshelf. And when I talk to people on Zoom, I see the amount of books on their bookshelf, and I'm more worried about that. I'm not worried about how old they look. I'm just thinking, how have they read so many books? I said, I want to do their job, just sitting at home reading books.
Do you know, there's no escape on Zoom because you can't put a filter over it. I don't think you can anyway, but I feel really disappointed if I've got friends like on Facebook and they've put so many filters on their face, they look like a Disney princess. And I swear, if I bumped into an old school friend who did that, I would not recognize them in real life. If I was in Asda's and I saw my mate who's 44, but on Facebook, she's got flowers around her head and she's got airbrushed complexion and little birds tweeting around her, I wouldn't recognize her. This is what I look like.
Yeah. Well, I've got a news story here because we've got to wrap it up, and I thought I'd do a real tabloid one because I did go to get the Sunday Mirror. It says that the council are going to have health inspectors checking for social distancing at a swingers festival, and I just can't really see how that's going to work. But what do you think, Patrick? Suzy.
He's looking it up. He's busy Googling where it is.
Anyone? Mish, what do you think? Oh, Mish is gone.
They've all gone to Google where it is, Crispin. You're.
I was pretty relieved.
Controversial, this one.
I was pretty relieved you asked Patrick.
Yeah, but he's not answering, so I had to go back to you, Mish.
Well,
so,
I mean, swing, slides, climbing frames, whatever.
Good way of getting out of it. All right. Well, look, I'm going to stop the newspaper review there. It needs a bit of polishing, but we're getting there. We're getting there. There's a bit of a mix of politics and sport and swinging. You know, all the old stuff.
Thank you, Crispin.
Thank you for coming on, Mish.
No problem. I thought I was going on the Andrew Marr show, but then I realised this is not the Andrew Marr show.
Yeah, he's on holiday at the moment, Andrew Marr, like everyone else apparently, including Kevin. And speaking of that, look at that link there. Hi, Kevin, again. How you doing? Kevin?
Yeah.
So, Kevin, you are in a organisation that when did you set it up?
So we set up Labour Party graphic designers.
Well, I didn't say what it was. It's Labour Party graphic designers, right? And set up, when was it?
Yeah, so we probably set up about last March, kind of April time. So been going nearly a year and a half now. And it really kind of came out of the fact that, you know, within the party, we've got loads of different organs and groups for all kinds of groups. You know, you've got the Jewish Labour Movement, you've got the Socialist Lawyers Association, the Socialist Health Association. And so, you know, I've kind of got a background in graphic design. And I always thought, you know, like the left is supposed to be the ones who own graphic design. You know, we have the culture, the Tories have all the cash to go and spend with Saatchi and, you know, those other dickheads. But we're here and we're trying to say that, you know, we can do better as a movement. Because if you look at some of the stuff the party used to put out over the years, and ever since sort of, it started in the 90s with kind of some of the professionalization, and I think it probably really like compounded maybe in sort of like the Ed Miliband years. The caliber of design in the party has gone down quite a lot. So I said, you know, there must be other designers in the party. There must be other people that kind of recognize
right. So
there is a problem here.
Should we talk about a few of the new designs that Labour have got, and you can sort of talk through what you think about what they're doing? Because there's this one. People have talked a lot about this one, I think, because it's been seen as quite naff.
Yeah, I mean,
what's wrong? It looks quite annoying, doesn't it? You look at it, you just think that's annoying. I don't really want to click anything to do with that. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like a pretty good place to start with it. I mean, one of the things is you've got to consider sort of designing the same part of the messaging here as well, right? And what is there out of saying jobs, 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 jobs? You know, it's repetitive to the point that it doesn't say anything. And I think it's something that we've got a big problem with a lot of the design going out now. And design is arresting when it is in a way that people don't expect to receive it. You know, much like sort of, you know, back in the day, you'd have like a newspaper vendor on the street, you know, yelling like extra, extra, read all about it. But it just drones on because it's kind of what you expect. So, you know, there's nothing disarming about this. There's nothing which grabs attention. And if you even look at like the caliber of the design, like the alignment's all messed up. You can see the different squares of the jobs bleeding into the different squares of the other white square. You know, it's a bit of a hatchet job even by sort of like the load bar that it sets for itself.
Yeah, and there's another one here that isn't particularly fantastic. It just seems too. Is it the word too busy? Isn't it? It just seems like you just got to really go into that before you can get what it's trying to tell you. Really.
Well, I mean, the first thing I say, I think you can look at whoever's chosen what to highlight in here, possibly has some questionable judgment. I don't think that gaping holes would have been what I decided to highlight out of that. But yeah, it's too busy. I think it's something that the party has kind of fallen into a lot lately, where oftentimes you'll get, you know, what should be the tweet is in the image, and what's in the image should be the tweet. And this time they've gone for massive overkill on both of these things. But, you know, there's no call to action, really. It doesn't say much that's illuminating. And there's so much text that with anyone who's, you know, just having a cursory scroll through on the timeline, that no one's going to read any of that.
No, I think that gives people a headache. And you've got some, you've been inspired by past bits of design, haven't you?
Yeah.
For example, this one here.
So this is great. You know, one of the things that we kind of do on, so that just before I kind of come on to this bit, there's sort of three main things that we do. We produce quarterly art packs ourselves, where we put out a common brief for designers in the movement to design an original poster on a particular theme. You know, we've addressed everything from, we've gone Black Lives Matter, we've done a couple of key worker art packs during sort of like the epidemic, we've done local elections, encouraging voter registration and that in the past. And, you know, something else that we do in between those is we share a lot of historical things, because obviously some of the designs have been lost to the past, but there's a lot that we can mine from all of these. And this particular one here, it's by FHK Henry, and these are actually kind of commissioned off the cuff. The party, before it had, you know, sort of the more professional in-house design team, just used to use sympathetic graphic designers who, you know, would be quite prominent but sympathetic to the movement. And these ones, probably a little known one, but they're exceptional. You know, they sell the personal benefit to people. You know, what's in this for you? It has an aspiration of, you know, what a better society could look like. You know, more teachers, smaller classes. It's, you know, that's much more direct than just saying jobs.
Yeah, and you've sort of got a whole team of people who are working. You know, you're working with who are new designers who have just kind of inspired to get into it. And you've got a couple of examples you sent me of their work, and some of them are quite amazing. Look at this one here, for example, about the NHS.
So this design here is from it's from a young lad called Liam Wright. He's still a student. This is from one of our key workers art packs that we did, but you know, it's crisp, it's clean, it's got a nice little kind of like visual play on the word heroes there. And, you know, these are what kids are churning out from their bedrooms. And, you know, we've got a party membership of 500,000 people-ish. And within that, you have a huge amount of skill. You know, talent's not just in graphic design, but, you know, in other things such as messaging or all manner of things. And it's about how can we try and unlock, you know, the power of those people within the movement. Because, you know, with high triple digit numbers of CLPs, it's not practical for, you know, the organization to be able to give them all access to good design. So we need to talk about how we can empower them from the grassroots to be pushing out good design. And here's a great example. You know, it's from a parish council election from a young lad called Lee Barker, who's up in the Northwest. And is this probably the best, you know, leaflet design there's been for a parish council ever in the UK? Maybe. You know, quite minor elections that most parties wouldn't give, you know, much of a toss about. But this is, you know, it's a local lad who's proud of his area, and he's put together, you know, something which is incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that illustration is fantastic, isn't it? So that we've seen a lot of design there. It's a shame the party isn't open to more support for the talented young members as well, who want to apply that kind of skill they've got. But it's great that you're giving them an opportunity in your organisation there.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on because I've only got 15 minutes now. So let's see if I can manage to do this. Are you there, Carole?
I am indeed.
Right. Now, I just wanted to play you an intro. I wanted everyone to be introduced to you formally. Okay. You haven't seen this before? I hope it's okay with you. This is you.
Be conscious in every little thing you do.
Listen, don't curse to me. Don't curse to me.
You've done this twice today to me. You had
sorry,
breakfast.
I don't want
you had breakfast.
this to happen. Stop
You had
crying every time.
breakfast.
I did not have breakfast, okay?
Yes, you did. Yes, you bloody did.
I had 2 slices of bread. Do you consider that breakfast?
That's what we had. We
Okay,
had.
that's fine. I'm fine with that, but don't curse.
Carole, have you had any breakfast?
Do you know what? It's the most important meal of the day. Of course, I've had breakfast.
And so, with that Big Brother thing, were they starving you in that program to make you?
How it works is that it's incredibly boring. What everyone sees is 45 minutes of 24 hours every night. You know, when they had the live feed, it was a bit different. But in our instance, in 2007, we would win a task and get loads of shopping and fight over what we were going to have and have masses of stuff, and then someone would do something, would get punished, and the shopping would be taken away. And I mean absolutely everything, even the salt and pepper. So you then live on like a couple of litres of orange juice and some red lentils and rice and some bread, milk, butter and cheese, and that would be it. And on one occasion we lived on what they called gruel, and that was a kind of small paint tin full of warm, very sweet porridge. Only as someone with diabetes, mine had no sugar in it, but the others hated it, so I just spooned all of theirs into mine, mixed it round, and had twice as much.
Oh, so you lost 3 stones. So you're like Oliver Twist then. You had more gruel. You asked for more gruel.
Yeah.
And what what your political activity? Because I mean that is incredible that you've been on Big Brother. I had no idea you'd been on Big Brother, but we
were very restricted, Crispin, because we came on right after the international event that was the race thing with Shilpa Shetty and Jade Goody. And may she rest in peace, poor Jade. I think very sad times. But so we were very restricted, and we thought we were really boring because there was lots of things we couldn't do. And I just found out, I was at holiday camp in Pontins in Lowestoft last week, and I just found out that apparently I'm the 4th most annoying housemate there's ever been. which I had no knowledge of, but I still get recognised 13 years later, which just amazes me. And as for Zoom and Botox, I've never done anything. I became bald here because the twins on Big Brother decided that they were going to straighten my very long hair. And I said, well, you can do it if I'm in the final, thinking I'll last 2 weeks and be out. And in fact, I'm the oldest finalist there's ever been. However, I went on there with a sort of an agenda because George Orwell is one of my most favourite all-time authors. I studied him for A-level English. And as well as Orwell, I've also been a social worker, and I've run children's homes, adolescent units, bail hostels, all sorts. And I wondered what it would be like to be sort of locked up with a group of my peers rather than me being the boss. And in the end, I was like the mum. So that's why there was lots of arguments, because it was like there was a very young household, and they were often kind of we were being restricted in things, but it got very petty but very nasty sometimes. And so I was like the mum, sort of telling them off a bit, and I don't think that did me any favours, but for some reason they were voting other people out, not because they liked me, but because they liked them less, I think. So I think I got to the final by default, really, not because I was particularly popular, or because I was doing anything right. I was just being myself. And
if you talked about politics in Big Brother and tried to convert all the other people into becoming socialists, do you think they'd have recorded that and put it out?
Yeah, I did, actually. And a thing that happened to me, I volunteered with Stop the War after I came out of the house, and the office was like Victoria way. And I came up from the tube, and there was a group of Muslim young people with their sort of leaders, as it were. And I was there, and I could hear my name being called, but I thought they were calling someone else. So I kind of glanced and looked back again and carried on. And the next to me, I mean, I'm surrounded by these young people, and they'd just come from Iraq, and they were coming to London for a trip from Iraq. And basically they said, Carole, Big Brother Carole. And they'd recognise me because they heard my discussion with the twins about the veil. And it was just, in France, they were just stopping the veil from being worn in schools. And as we came into the house, Jack Straw had just said that he wouldn't talk to this woman in his surgery because she'd got a niqab on, and that you can't understand people. Well, Jack Straw, I think you need to take a look at what's happening now in our country and around the world. Everyone's got a veil on of some sort. So we can all communicate quite well. It is difficult for people who are deaf, of course, but yeah, I mean, I had some great experiences when I came out with people. My family didn't like it because I couldn't go anywhere without being stopped, people wanting selfies. I even had a South African rugby team lift me up on their shoulders and take me to a party. I think I came home about 4 in the morning. My family didn't know where I was.
And because we haven't got much time, but you said you're going on a demo today, is that right?
I am. I'm glad you talked about migrants, because the Bell Hotel in Epping in Essex, which is quite a frightfully nice place if you know it, and very Tory, has got the far right going to that hotel, which is currently housing migrants, and the hate that is being spouted. So Stand Up to Racism is calling for a protest down there and supporting migrants. And Priti Patel is shameful because, you know, she's even said quite recently that if her parents were coming over here as migrants now, they wouldn't get in. She wouldn't let them in. But she's had all the opportunities she's had because of them taking that journey and coming here and taking a risk, being in a foreign country, not knowing the language very well, and actually having to start from scratch and work up. While I was in Lowestoft, just quickly, a Norfolk chicken processing plant just had 79 cases of workers with COVID. A couple of them, the drivers of who would bring the migrant workers from places like Great Yarmouth and Caister and places like that to this processing plant in the middle of nowhere in Norfolk. And what happened was the migrant workers came in, and then the drivers have tested positive. So they've got no way of going back to their digs in Great Yarmouth, and were just left. No taxis would take them or anything. And they've just been sort of suspended from work for the next 2 to 3 weeks to go into quarantine. There were still live chickens being brought in to be processed, but they were shutting the plant down. So what happens to that livestock? You know, it gets, I mean, it's a whole knock-on thing. Politically, it's disgraceful because the chickens will be slaughtered, not used. The people who are growing the chickens, as it were, and so on. So it's not just about animal welfare and people welfare. It's about the whole setup that we've got. You know, people in Britain will not do those jobs at £3 an hour. So people from other countries come over and do those jobs. So many of us can eat. I'm vegetarian, but I just think something's got to stop. And Starmer is doing absolutely nothing to challenge these things. He has 6 questions at the dispatch box on a Wednesday, and he never uses them, and he wishy-washes about, and he needs to be on the case of this government. He needs to be challenging Johnson and Dominic Cummings and Robb and all the rest of them, and he's just not. And we do need a shake-up.
Well, Carole, I thought we were doing a light-hearted chat, and you've ended up talking about chickens and refugees being...
I did get me baps out a few times.
And then Starmer.
I've never had Botox.
We don't seem to be able to have very much light-hearted banter on this political. So what I thought we'd do now is move on to our clash of the CLPs. Gareth in Broxtowe.
Indeed.
And I'm hoping that Glenn is there.
Hello.
Are you there, Glenn?
I am. Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, Glenn. Yeah, good to see you, Glenn.
Hello, Crispin.
I wasn't sure where you were, but I found you eventually. So we have to start with on this quiz. We've got a picture round. It's the first one of you to answer correctly, and please note that if you answer and then you change your mind, you've only got your first answer counts. Okay, you can't come in again. So the first question is, who is this? Labour MP. Anyone?
I don't know. I'll have a guess at Jenny Lee.
No. Glenn, any idea?
I've no idea, I'm afraid, Crispin.
So has anyone in the chat got it? Anyone in the chat got it? Audrey Wise, no. No, not Dot Cotton. No, the answer is Joan Maynard. She was quite a prominent left-wing MP in the 70s and 80s. Patrick didn't get that either, I noticed. So the next question is, who is this? Another Labour MP.
Which one? The one on the left or the right? That's Lennon, isn't it?
Let's see, has anyone got this? No, it's not KFC guy. No. Huh?
Keir Hardy.
No.
George Lansbury.
No. In fact, I'll give you a clue. It won't really help you because his son is running for the NEC. And he's done a Zoom call. I've done a Zoom call with his son on a hustings, and his son is not on a slate of the NEC. He's an independent candidate. Right, no one. Let me have a look in the chat. Oh, Mish has got it. It's Sidney Silverman, and his son is running for the NEC. So have a look up Sidney Silverman after the show. So you two are doing pretty bad at the moment, but it might get better. It is the hardest. It is the hardest quiz.
It can only get better.
Here's question number 3. Who is this? Union leader at the moment, leading one of the main unions, not affiliated to Labour, but quite close politically. Bob Crow used to be the leader of that particular union. The surname is the same as, it's another word for money. No?
Oh, Mick Cash.
Mick Cash. Yeah, you got that one right, Glenn. So the money clue did it?
It did indeed, yeah, it helped.
Okay, Mick Cash, right. So one to Cornwall. And now we're going on to special questions for the CLPs. So I'm going to start with you, Mick. Which former Labour leader's father was MP for Bodmin?
Oh, it's Glenn, but it's Michael Foot.
Michael Foot, yeah. You got that one. 2 for Cornwall. And Gareth, your question, which is just about your CLP, is your constituency. Which seat did Darren Henry try for in 2015 and he lost?
Somewhere in Wiltshire? I don't know.
No. Wolverhampton North East. Okay, so it's 2-0 to Cornwall, but don't give up. We still have this question, and I'll give it to you, Darren. Sorry, I'll give it to you, Darren. You're not Darren. Darren's the MP for Broxtowe. Gareth, I'll give it to you. Which union has the most members? And you get the first call on this. Is it ASLEF or the Bakers?
I'll go with ASLEF.
What do you think, Glenn? Do you want to go the other way?
Yeah, I'll go the other way. I'll go for Bakers.
Right, the answer is that ASLEF have 18,500 members and the Bakers have 20,496. So Glenn's got another one there. And Glenn, because of that, you've won the quiz. You are the champion for this week. I'd like to say, Gareth, I'm sorry that you didn't get through this time, but Broxtowe is definitely on the map. Everyone knows what good stuff you're doing down there. Are you part of the hub?
Thank you. Yeah, a small part. I do some deliveries and some packing and things like that. And can I just say I'm releasing a leaked report into this quiz that you'll all be receiving quite soon.
What is it going to the General Secretary?
I can't say. I'm not going to say who's leaking it, but read it when it comes out.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for giving us a heads up first.
You're welcome.
So, Patrick, did you get any of those?
Yeah, I got Greg's. That was the Bakers Union. I knew that. I knew the Bakers
Union.
Loads of them. And I got Mick Cash, and I got Silverman. I'm just reading all the things on the chart. I didn't get any of them, Crispin. Crispin, I wasn't born in 1811. These questions are getting harder.
No, they're not that difficult. So what Don, did you get any of those?
No, I thought that guy was a KFC guy.
Yeah.
So what have you been, Don, did you say that you had something about the Liberal Democrats or something?
Yeah, well, I would like to say congratulations to Ed Davey for winning the not general election, sorry. for winning the Liberal Democrats election. It was in the lockdown, so the turnout, well, let me tell you, more people attended this Zoom meeting than the turnout for the Liberal Democrat elections. So
that's a bit of a put down for the meeting.
Sorry, Crispin. Can I just say one thing before I go? Yeah, I've got a lot of topical material to sell, so if anyone wants any, just speak to me afterwards. I've got an introductory offer. Any of my Richie Sunak jokes from Monday to Wednesday will be half price.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Also, you're talking about that party in Yorkshire, about the swingers party, yeah? What they're actually recommending now for that swingers party and anywhere, if anyone is having, obviously, sex, they have to recommended to wearing a mask. And I just want to know what the situation is with regards to masturbating. Asking for a friend, by the way. I know that's a bit too early for Sunday.
Sorry, Don, it's not. We're not in a comedy club in
I know, I can't help it.
The week in the West End somewhere. You know, we're on a daytime. We're on a daytime show trying to compete with Andrew Marr. I'm not going to do it with that kind of material, Don.
Sorry, Crispin.
Look at that.
That's not on. That's not on. I mean, I should never. I'm never putting a swingers story on the news. It gets everyone talking about. Suzy, can you clean up this show? Can you say something that's just going to distract everyone from what Don's just said?
Oh, do you know, I've got changed while we were talking, by the way. I don't know if you noticed, I've got to go out. I turned the camera away. I told my mum, the legend of Jean, you've all heard about Jean all summer. I told her about the swinging thing today, and she said, oh, they'd have to sterilise the car keys about this swinging. And I was like, oh, that kind of, I don't want to know about why she knows about the car keys, but people don't use car keys anymore. I mean, I don't even drive, so I have to use my train line pass. But yeah, it's quite a lot for Sunday. I mean, it's Columbo Day today. It's a sacred day. Sunday is Columbo Day. There's always Columbo on TV. But yeah, that was interesting. There was a thing in the news about everyone flocking to, because loads of people are on holiday in Devon and Cornwall at the moment, but not that many in Plymouth. And there was a thing about Yorkshire, because people are flocking to Yorkshire because of that programme about the farm. But Plymouth was on Call the Cops the other week, and that hasn't made people flood to Plymouth. But if you do come to Plymouth, don't forget to check out the Plymouth Trails app starring the voice of yours truly. So if you do end up coming, it's now live, so you can hear me doing my telephone voice talking about Francis Drake and stuff. And yeah, but I hope everyone has a lovely Sunday. The sun's out, but if you don't want to go out, Columbo's on.
Yeah,
perfect day. Perfect day.
And I love Carole from Big Brother. I could listen to her for hours. I loved her when she was on the show. And I used to live near her, and I knew it was her house because she had big banners with Stop the War and Labour and everything. And I used to walk past her house every day at the Tube. If only I'd known, I could have popped in for a cup of tea. But maybe one day, Carole, we'll have a cup of tea and a natter.
Yes, that's great, Suzy. You're welcome anytime. Anyone's welcome to our house. And we have a big sign that says, you know, free Palestine and migrants welcome. And actually, I've had people knocking on my door thinking I'm a hostel. So, you know, they generally get a cup of tea and whatever we've got going.
Stick the kettle on. We're coming, Carole. Stick the
kettle
on.
Definitely, anytime.
We're going to go. We've run late, so we're going to have to move on to our final. He always sticks around through the show, and he's very patient. Rob.
Hello. Yes.
So are you normally up early on a Sunday, Rob?
Yeah. I usually get up because there's stuff to do, and early in the morning there's no one else to get in your way while you're doing it, is there?
What do you mean? Do you mean creative stuff or
Yes, generally you've got a nice sort of focus, and everybody else is either asleep. If you go out, it's not full of tourists and amateurs trying to wandering around the streets, wondering what they're doing there. So it's quite good.
How long have you been up today?
I got up at 8 o'clock.
Okay, not bad.
It was quite a sort of relaxed morning, but I did a bit of reading first of all in bed.
That's nice. Nice start.
I like a bit of reading. I can't go to bed without a book. And it's just I wake up and read.
You've written another song for us as well.
I have written another song for you, yeah. And that sort of
Keir.
It's probably called Keir, or let's be clear about Keir, because I was reading this really good book about the First World War called To End All Wars by Adam Hochschild, and it had a lot about Keir Hardie in it. And I thought, I didn't know that about Keir Hardie. And I thought, wow, Keir Hardie was a really interesting geezer. We all know he's the father of the Labour Party, blah, blah, blah. But he got up to some really cool stuff. And I thought, well, I've never known anybody called Keir. And there's this other man called Keir at the moment. And it'd be easy to confuse the two unless you knew the details. So the song is really to help people to understand which Keir we're talking about.
After him.
Yeah. It's a public service song, really, in a light-hearted way.
Oh, well, I'm gonna play it now, and then we'll have a chat after. I'll just put. I've made sure the sound's better on this one, and here we go.
So let's be clear about Keir. Keir Hardie was a miner when he was 10 years old, a grubby little alchemist turning anthracite to gold. Keir Hardie was blacklisted when he spoke for miners' rights, so he organised the union when the miners went on strike. And Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. The papers think he's quite good. The Queen gave him a knighthood. Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Keir Hardie wore his cloth cap and red tie for all to see. The independent labourer who forms the ILP at the turning of the century. The day is surely due when the harvest will be shared between the many, not the few. And Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. His name might mean he might be confused with Keir Knightley, but Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Keir Hardie was a socialist, supported women's rights, said we can stop the world war with a worldwide general strike. Keir Hardie was a pacifist, he stood for life, not death, and he spoke for peace and justice till his lungs ran out of breath. And Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. He comes from England's Eden, like Keir comes from Sweden. Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Keir Hardie loved his children and he loved a cup of tea, and he fell in love with Sylvia and read her poetry. Keir Hardie wasn't perfect, but he would not bend the knee to rank and power and privilege built on war and poverty. And Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Yes, Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. The Tories and the Whigs feared the Keir who wore a big beard. Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. Yes, Keir Starmer, he's the Labour leader now. All clear?
Way. So, who's the Labour leader now then?
I think it's Keir Starmer. Or IKEA, I'm not sure.
That's a who's the Labour leader there?
IKEA.
Well, we've had a. What do you think about the show so far? Has it been all right? This Sunday one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to work on the newspapers. Were probably a bit longer than normal, but yeah.
We're only an hour late. This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to say thank you to everyone who's come on. Thank you, Gareth. I just see you up there in Broxtowe. Thank you to Glenn in Cornwall, Patrick, Suzy, Don.
Thank you.
Mish, and also to Kevin, the graphic designer, and Carole, of course. Carole, are you there?
I am, yeah.
Right, so what are you going to do when you lead us out now?
I'm going to do CF on a Sunday, You know that's the place to be. We don't want Andrew Marr no more. This is for you and me. A socialist agenda on a Sunday breakfast time. Come on, everybody. Let's have a jolly good time. And I'll carry on, carry on, and carry on.
Right, well, I'll do unmute now, and everyone can join in.
Yeah, we can all sing.
Thank you, everyone, for coming along, and we'll be back again on Wednesday with a show, and on next Sunday as well. So I'm going to unmute all, and thank you for coming. See you later.
Right.
Thanks, Crispin. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Go again.
Thank you.
Go and feed the cat now. Bye. So, it's breakfast time on Sunday. Go and grab toast and jam. Let's have a chat.